Hey everyone, and welcome to Behind the Business. Today I'm going to be talking about how I closed 89% of sales calls in the last month, and I'm going to be sharing 5 proven strategies that helped me do just that. So I'm going to be sharing all of the things that have supported me, because whilst this is on average roughly our conversion rate in general, I've definitely gone through phases in my business where the conversion rate has been a little bit lower, and it's making the tiniest tweaks that can sometimes make the biggest difference. So I'm super excited to be unpacking this all with you guys today, because a lot of people think that sales calls and sales in general needs to be really persuasive, handling objections and being really pushy and sleazy and salesy, and it's just not true. Especially for us women, it's so important that we sell in a way that is very authentic for us, because women, if you're selling to other women, they often buy based on energy. They can smell BS from a mile away if something is feeling out of integrity or not honest or just a little bit off. So it's so important we are in alignment, and that starts by having a sales process that feels really good for us so we can show up as our best self. Whereas the moment we are reading rigid sales scripts or following processes that were not made for us, that's where it's going to be really, really difficult. So I'm super excited about this because these strategies are simple. A lot of them are automated as well. They're ethical and it's repeatable. So once you put them into practice, you will see your close rate rise too. So if you're doing sales calls, which I recommend that you do in most cases, that's where you're going to get the highest close rate. There are definitely circumstances where you don't need sales calls, and there's definitely several other ways that you can sell. I teach all of them inside of my program, but today we're going to be focused on sales calls specifically, which is great if you're selling high ticket programs and you've got capacity to take the calls to get the highest close rate possible. So let's dive into the 5 strategies that have supported me to make over $100,000 in a month, which we are now consistently doing with such a high close rate as well. So strategy number 1 is what you actually do before the call matters just as much as what you do on the call. So your close rate doesn't just start the moment you say hi on Zoom. It starts way before that. The trust that you build before someone ever books a call with you will make or break this outcome. The reason why I have such a high close rate, or one of the reasons why, is because I'm making sure that it's mostly only qualified people that are actually booking a call with me to begin with. I'm not pitching sales calls as some fake free coaching call. They are intake calls about inquiring to work with me, which means someone already likes me, knows me, and trusts me before they book a call. They've already consumed my long form content, so they really feel like they know me, and this call is specific about seeing if I can support them to grow and scale their business. This works all niches, by the way. So for me, I run a free event every single month, sometimes even twice, and that long form content really builds a lot of trust, and people leave that workshop or that event wanting to learn more and have me support them, right? And it's those people that are booking a call, so they choose to do it on their own accord, and they know exactly what the call is for and how it's all going to work. So that's really important. If I was having sales calls with really cold leads who had no idea who I was, didn't trust me, hadn't consumed any of my content, my close rate would probably be a lot lower. I definitely close calls of people that have not been in my world for a very long time. Like some people have only known me for 24 hours, 48 hours, maybe even 72 hours, and they become a client, as soon as they have had the sales call with me, but they've still consumed some content of mine prior to the call. So they might be new in my world, but they're still warm because my nurture strategy is very, very powerful, which is why all phases of your marketing strategy must work, right? We have to have a solid attraction strategy, we have to have a solid nurture strategy, and then we have to have a solid conversion strategy, which in this case is running sales calls. So that's what we need to have in place, is they have to have consumed some long form content. But then once they have booked the call, we then want a few nurture emails to go out between when they've booked and when the call takes place. So again, they have consumed more of my content, seen more client results, and know a little bit more about me as well. This is really, really important because people buy from people they like, they know, and they trust to help them solve the problem they have and get the solution they desire. So what you do before the call matters, in short. So make sure they've consumed long form content. What we do is when someone has booked a call with me, it actually then redirects to a thank you page, and that thank you page tells them exactly, how to be able to show up ready and on time for the sales call. Plus on that page are a bunch of, video trainings that are going to help them grow their business. Again, more long form content to consume, and they have an assessment to fill out, which actually leads me to strategy number 2. So that is having an assessment form for your clients to fill out. You want it to be super simple and easy for them to consume and complete to increase the likelihood of that happening, by the way. So I have a short video that explains my signature method, which is called the scalable system, which is what I teach my clients. And it's a really short video that explains what that is. And then there's a Google form right below that video that gets them to audit themselves on a scale of red being this is problematic area for me, yellow, it's okay but needs some improvement, and green being, I'm all solid in this area. And they rate themselves between red, yellow, and green on each of the 9 components that make up the scalable system, so they know where they stand and, how much work there is to do to be able to get the result that they want. I receive those answers via that assessment form in a spreadsheet so that before the call, I'm able to read their answers and see, oh yeah, they're red on everything, or okay, it's mostly their marketing strategy that's lacking or something else. And I'm able to leverage that information on the call to, help them as best as possible, but then also show them how I can help them. So having that assessment form is really powerful. And this is a strategy that I give my clients and teach them to implement as well, so that they have data they can leverage on the call, and their potential client knows a lot about their method already and is already sold on it. So I always take a few minutes before the sales call to read through their answers, so that I can use that information to tailor the call to them and really, really show them that I can help them. So it kind of has 2 benefits, this assessment. 1, it gets your potential clients sold on your method, and 2, it allows you to ask really intentional, specific questions to dive really deeper into their pain. So that is strategy number 2, is having an assessment form. So strategy number 1 is, building as much rapport and nurturing as much as possible before the call to make sure that it's only qualified people that actually go on and they already like, know, and trust you. Number 2 is to have an assessment form so that trust is there stronger and you're best prepared for the call as possible. Just a little side note, I do recommend, especially if you're a business coach or if someone's social media platforms are relevant, you can still do this anyway, but that would be to go on their social media platforms and just see, what do you have in common with them? If you're a business coach, what are they struggling with? Is there anything that's sticking out to you that you could leverage on the call? The more information you have, the better you're going to be actually at closing your potential client. Strategy number 3 is to build rapport first. So we really, really want to make sure that we're building rapport, not just being super rigid, following some masculine script that we don't actually even like. We want to make sure we just take a minute or 2 to connect. How's your day been? What have you been up to? I love your background. Where are you located? How did you find me? Really casual conversations like this helps build trust and rapport. Make sure you're enthusiastic and you're smiling and you're happy and you're in a good and relaxed state, and make sure that they are relaxed as possible as well, right before you sort of dive deeper into the call. I'm going to be honest, this is something that has always come naturally to me, this whole building rapport aspect. And so I've always been quite good at that. But where I was lacking is what I'm going to step into next. This was one needle mover that really took our close rate from 25 or 50%, roughly around there, which mind you is still well and truly above average. But from that to now 89%, where we're closing literally majority of our calls. It's a super, super high close rate. So anyways, you want to build rapport. so that they are relaxed and they feel safe to open up. Because when they open up, again, that's going to allow you to leverage that information to be able to best support them. So make sure you're feeling good and make sure they are feeling good. Strategy number 4 is to link pain. Now, I know that this sounds really, masculine or whatever, but what I have learned the hard way is that it's a very important part of a buying cycle that someone actually goes through. So I used to just build rapport, and I would honestly get along with the people on the call so much because I, really only like to work with people that I really love, because I work with my clients long term typically. And so I would build these friendships almost, and then I would wonder why the rapport was so good, the connection was so good, but they wouldn't buy. They would ghost me, they would disappear, and they just wouldn't purchase. And I was so confused by that. I'm like, but it felt so good, it felt so right. What is going on here? And that is when I then learned through my sales coach, who is amazing, that a key piece that I was missing was actually linking pain on the call. Not linking pain in terms of make someone feel terrible about themselves kind of pain, but more so making people become aware about how nothing changes if nothing changes, and the path they are on is not going to get them the result that they want, or where they're at right now in their life or their business or their relationship, whatever your niche is not going to get better until they get support, until they change their approach. And that way, linking this pain is just a really, really important psychological part of a buying cycle that someone goes through. And so as soon as I implemented this, my conversion rate went up, through the roof. It just went up, up and up. So this is super, super painful. And, I really just help them to see that they are stuck. All I'm doing is asking questions. I'm not saying, oh, you're terrible at this, you're never going to succeed. That's not what I mean by linking pain. What I mean is just asking questions of how long have you been struggling with this? Or, wow, you've got a really, really big goal that you're quite far away from. What are you actually doing at the moment to move towards that? Oh, okay, you have no marketing strategy in place. Just questioning things and helping people to see that they are stuck, and they know that, but it being them feeling that emotionally and hitting those pain points, I suppose, is what allows you to then build authority and trust and show them that you can help them. You can even not necessarily coach them, but help make them aware that there is a solution to the problem they're experiencing, and how it doesn't have to be as hard as they think it might be, as long as they have the right support and approach to actually get there. And this one little change has just made the biggest difference in my close rate. And I'm never following a script. I don't actually follow scripts at all. I'm super present on the call. But what I am is I'm just honest. I'm really honest if I can see that someone is in their own way, they're making a decision or saying things that don't align with what they say they want, or their quote unquote reasoning or excuse just doesn't really add up. It's my job as a coach to hold a potential client and anyone that I love for that matter, hold them to a higher standard. It would be a disservice if I didn't do that. And so if something just doesn't make sense, for example, in my instance, if I'm having a sales call with someone and they're saying, oh yeah, I hate my job so much, I want to quit my job and I would love to be making $30,000 a month, and I would love freedom, and I would love to work only a few hours a day, and I would love to take my family away on holiday. And then when it comes time to, taking that next step, they're like, oh, but I just think I need to wait for a few months, or I think I need to have all my circumstances and ducks lined up in a row, or, I think I just want to get started a little bit on my own first, or I think I just want to, keep doing what I'm doing for a little bit longer, sign some clients with quote unquote, a really shitty strategy, otherwise they wouldn't be on a call with me. And then I'll come back around. You can really hear, as I'm saying all of this, these excuses, these objections do not line up with everything they just said they wanted. And so I could be a friendly people pleaser trying to keep rapport and be like, great idea. Keep doing what you're doing, even though it's getting you absolutely no results, even though you have a terrible marketing strategy in place. Just keep going. You got this. Let's chat in a few months. I could do that, which honestly is a disservice to them and a disservice to me. Or I could be honest and I could say, hey, I really care about you and I see so much potential in you, but I have to be honest. You've just told me that you want to be generating $30,000 per month in your business, but you've been stuck with this guesswork for the last 6 months and nothing has changed during that time. So I'm really curious, do you really think that waiting a few more months or continuing to do what you're currently doing is actually going to support you to get this result that you've just said you really, really want? And it's just, that's not even being mean, that's just questioning them and holding them to a higher standard. So highly recommend. Strategy number 4 is to link pain. Question things if you actually deep down feel that and hold them to that higher standard. And the more specific and detailed you can be with the layers of the questions that you ask, not just with linking pain, but in general, like also with finding out where they're at, building rapport, all of these things, like ask layered questions. Don't be surface level and don't move on until you truly have gotten as clear as you need to be able to best support them and best leverage, information to be able to close them. So that's strategy number 4, is to link pain. And when you do this well, they realize the decision isn't between investing in your program or not. It's, it's between staying stuck or moving forwards. And the reality is, and this is why this has been such an important turning point for me with sales, is that whether it's, good or bad, doesn't really matter. But human beings are more likely to move away from pain than they are to move towards pleasure. And so knowing that that's how most humans are wired, we want to leverage that and not talking about the pain, not highlighting where they're currently at and how that's not going to get them to where they want to be. It's so essential that we actually speak into that so that they can see that they need to do something different, even if it's scary and uncertain and uncomfortable, which for the most part it is for all of us, right? I've been nervous and scared every time I've invested in myself, and I've invested over $200,000. And now the investments I make, in my own, growth are like $40,000, and it's scary no matter how many times I've done it. But when there's pain there and there's also big desire there, you've got to link into both, then it just kind of becomes a no-brainer. So that is strategy number 4, which actually leads me perfectly into strategy number 5, which is what I was just speaking about, which is it being a no-brainer. If you have a no-brainer offer, this is a strategy that I teach my clients to make sure that they have no-brainer offers. This is going to make sales so easy. Whereas if you have, an unclear result, your program outcome is not tangible, your offer isn't that compelling, it's not very supportive, it's not very inclusive, it's not very clear, it's not very compelling, then you could be so great at sales and people not buy your offer. Whereas if you want, 80% of the selling to be done for you, just simply have a good offer. Be actually exceptional at what you do, which is why you want to be really clear with your niche, but you also want to be really confident with your niche. So we need to make your offer a no-brainer. A no-brainer offer is one where the value is so clear and so strong that it actually feels harder to say no than it is to say yes, right? The person can see the transformation, they can understand how it works, and the investment feels worth it. Think about when you want something and you see something's on sale. You kind of feel like, I'm getting such a good deal. And it makes you like more likely to purchase it, right? And having a no-brainer offer doesn't mean underpricing it or throwing in random bonuses or overextending yourself and people pleasing. It's actually not about that at all. You can charge very high ticket. You can have very exceptional inclusions and not burn yourself out in the process. It's just about structuring your offer in a way that directly solves their problem, removes the barriers that they're experiencing, and feels like the obvious, best, smartest, clearest next step. I actually had someone join my program yesterday, and she was comparing me with a couple of other offers, some that were cheaper, some that were, less of a commitment, some that even offered more things, by the way, and some done for you elements. And she ended up choosing me, which was the most expensive, the biggest time commitment. And also it had more inclusions, but it didn't have all of this done for you stuff. Like, I don't write your emails for you, I don't schedule your emails for you, and this other program apparently did that. And yet she chose mine, and I asked her why, and she said, your offer felt the safest in my body. I can see how it's going to support me to get the result that I want. It just felt safe in my body, which is probably one of the best pieces of feedback I could get. There's nothing I love more than clients or potential clients feeling safe to work with me. And then she paid in full for my offer, Scale School, right? And so we want to make sure we structure our offer in a way where it just makes sense and it feels safe to purchase, even if it's a stretch and a big commitment, right? And the reality is that this potential client, who's now a beautiful client of mine, she had pain there. She was like, I've been stuck for so long and I know I need support. And I'm in actually so much pain just being on the fence about what to decide. And it just feels so relieving to actually just make a decision now. I need to get off the fence. Like, she said all of this. And I'm so glad that she did, because now I get to support her. Now she actually gets to grow. Okay. So in summary, the 5 proven strategies that have supported me to close 89% of my sales calls with honestly so much ease, no rigid scripts, no metaphors to handle objections, no follow-up calls, none of that stuff, is what you do before the call matters to make sure they are nurtured, they've consumed content of yours, so they have, clarity on who you are and what you do prior to the call. That's going to save time on the call as well. Number 2 is to use an assessment form so that they know everything about your signature method. If you don't have a signature method, it's really important to have one. It's something that I teach my clients because it's going to make you stand out from everyone else in your niche. So having a simple, free Google form that takes them through that process with a traffic light system is going to be really key. Number 3 is to build rapport on the call. So important that you are comfortable and you are connecting with them just as much as they're trying to connect with you. Number 4 is to make sure that you link pain on the call so that they really feel prompted to want to move forwards and get out of their own way. And number 5 is to have a no-brainer offer in place. When you have those 5 strategies in place, you are going to be able to increase your close rate significantly. And then practice equals progress. I want you to know, and I probably should have said this at the beginning of the episode, but a considered good close rate is a 25% close rate. When you are closing 1 in 4 people in the coaching industry, that is considered a healthy close rate. Now, there are plenty of industries and businesses in and outside of the coaching industry that have a much lower close rate. Some businesses definitely are much larger than mine and have a lesser close rate, but it means they have lots of sales calls, closes, and they spend a lot of money to make a lot of money. Whereas right now it's just me doing the calls. I don't even take that many calls, but because my offer, my business model is all structured correctly, and because I have this whole system in place that I just shared with you, I'm able to not do many calls but close majority of them and make a lot of money. So we're literally sitting at nearly $110,000 for this month, and that was just doing not very many sales calls, whereas some businesses are doing 30, 40, 50, 60 sales calls in a month and have a big team to do that, whereas I've been able to do it all myself and still have a lot of spaciousness and free time. And it feels so worth it when you're actually closing them. Whereas if I was doing it all myself and only closing 25% or less, whilst that might be acceptable for some people's business models, it's just not for mine. I love to have a high close rate so that I'm, the time I am spending on calls or even off calls is all worth it. So yeah, that's the industry average is 25%, more or less. And it's not uncommon for it to be a lot lower than that, but this is where ours is at. I'm very, very proud of it. I do sell in other ways, even without sales calls, and I teach lots of different strategies. But in this season in my life and business, I'm loving doing them because I am very mindful and intentional with who I work with. I'm very picky for the right reasons because I work with my clients long term, and I'm enjoying doing them, especially when it's making me this much money, it's creating this much impact, and it's helping, just so many people to actually make decisions that they're not going to regret because I actually deliver what I say I'm going to, and so much more than that. All right, thank you so much for listening. Let me know on Instagram, come DM me at Sophia Rose Bernardi, what your biggest takeaway was from today, what you are next going to add in to your sales call process to increase your close rate. Make sure you are tracking the data of the calls booked, the calls showed, the calls not showed, the no's, the maybes, all of the things. That data will tell you where in your process you need to tidy things up to get a bigger and better result. If you would like my support with sales calls, with your offer, with your signature method, with your assessment, with everything, this is what I teach inside my program, Scale School. It is a mastermind for coaches who are wanting to go from 0 to 30K months and beyond in their business, the simple, sustainable, and spacious way. So if you would like to learn more about this program to see if it's the right fit for you, it's perfect for any coach, online service provider, just DM me the word scale at Sophia Rose Bernardi and we can have a quick chat, even jump on a quick casual call and we can go from there. Love you all and I'll see you next week. Bye.